I'm gonna go pee.
Go.
No pig allowed.
You have to mask your need to urinate.
I'm getting a migraine, and one of the signs is like I pee a lot. That's why I think I'm getting a migraine, because I've been peeing a lot. But I'm gonna pee real quick.
Well, take care of yourself, okay?
I think I'll also take a pee break while we're paused.
Okay.
Hold on. Bye.
I'll be here all by myself on the podcast that I didn't even know I wanted to be on.
Hello and welcome back to Discovering Divergency. I'm your co-host, Crystal, late diagnosed ADHDer.
I'm one of your other hosts. I'm Amanda, late diagnosed autistic.
I'm Sydney, late diagnosed autistic co-host.
I want to start out with sharing something. I had a really fun day yesterday. I got to meet cows.
Oh my God.
Am I sharing this?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Okay.
Oh
so I did,
Yeah.
These are all of my favorite things. These are my best friends, Kim and Mel. They are identical twins and also ADHDers. So I got to, and they also have migraine and EDS. So I got to talk a lot about all of my disabilities and see my friends. And we learned how to make sourdough and then cuddled with cows. So this is Gizmo, and he was very nice. That is me. That's Tilly. You can't see her face, but that's Tilly. These are Highland cows for our listening audience. And there's Tilly.
That picture's so cute.
Oh, and this is a baby bull. So cute. And so baby
fluffy.
or bulls lose their hair as they get older. I didn't know that. They won't be as fluffy. And it's just him, and he has one other little guy with him, because cows have to have friends and they have to be together. But if they were with girls, they would fight each other. So it's just the two bros. And she said that the farmer said that they have like a bromance and they love each other and they cuddle. And it was lovely. And I was really excited to show you guys.
So
I love everything about this. Yes.
Thank you for sharing. What a nice thing to do.
And in the morning, we went, my partner Zach drove me to a different farm nearby that he had found that has cows, just to look at the cows so we could warm up to seeing cows. But those were the black and white cows.
A cow appetizer.
Yeah.
I love
it was
that.
great. Any other fun facts or not so fun facts that happened this week?
I went to a Greek festival this weekend and had delicious Greek fun, but also incredibly overstimulating.
Wow. Oh yeah, they are a loud bunch.
Yeah.
I'm Greek.
Greek cousin, and that was my favorite
1/8
thing to do, was like go to the Greek festival or like Greek Easter. But Greekster. That was good food.
I had a migraine yesterday, so not great, but
yeah,
that happened. But I took care of myself the best to my ability, and my husband was very helpful, and I put myself first, which is the new thing I'm trying.
Working for you? I'm proud
so far,
of you. It's not
so
easy.
good.
No.
Thank you. I'm actually pretty proud of me too. I feel better today, but usually around this time of day, it's a gradual decline.
I feel like that actually leads us really well into our topic for today. So today we will be discussing masking and unmasking and the skill regression that comes along with it.
Anyone that's one of our audio listeners, Crystal has I don't even know how to describe it, like a
masquerade, pink
glitters, feathers, the whole nine. It's amazing.
This is just a thing that I own.
And also didn't tell us about it, and I'm really glad she didn't tell us about it.
This is a thing that I just own because why not? And when we decided we were going to do this topic, like 2-3 weeks ago, I was so excited. I came up with this idea and I've been sitting on it and I've been so excited to do it.
So what is masking? One might ask. I am the one.
So I'm gonna start us easy with this definition from Embrace Autism. So masking is strategies used to hide autistic characteristics or portray a non-autistic persona. So I think, yeah, it's just kind of hiding your natural autistic traits. And it can be a conscious and an unconscious practice. I think it becomes a little bit more conscious after your like discovery of autism. Because like, yeah, like you don't know that the term masking, I guess.
Yeah, I think something we'll talk about that I think could be complicated with it is depending on your experiences during childhood, either overtly or covertly, like you might learn to mask, whether it's like different peers kind of directing you or bullying you to help you learn, not help you, but you end up learning how to quote unquote behave in a way that's socially acceptable. Or there might be really overt things where someone says, don't do that or do this. And I think a lot of those things, especially as someone undiagnosed as a child, you don't realize that that's directing you and in some way policing your behaviors, and they kind of get incorporated into yourself, and it can be really weird and complicated as an adult trying to navigate like who am I really when I'm not trying to perform for others.
Yes. I think I went through a really like existential crisis of trying to figure out actually who I was. So a lot of it was tied to I had been in a relationship for 12 years. And towards the end of the relationship, I think was when I started my discovery journey without knowing what it was, and I started to really like honor myself, and I think that led to a lot of like relationship issues because you start to unmask, at least for me, I started to unmask with the people I felt most comfortable with. And that can look really and it can look like you're willing to do things for other people, but not the people like you love. And so after that breakup, like 12 years of I was like 15 when we started dating. And then I don't know, 12 years after that, that's math. So I was like, holy shit, I don't know who I am. And I was like, what is me? What do I actually like? And now I realize that was a lot of like the masking and like the taking off the mask of like, do I actually like to do this or do I think I'm supposed to like to do this?
I remember being in my testing appointment, one of my testing appointments, and I don't remember exactly how it came up. I think that the clinician was asking me like about my life and how I feel in certain situations. And I remember saying something along the lines of like, I don't know who I am. I'm a different person to everyone. And that makes me feel bad because I feel like I'm lying to people. But I'm not, but it feels kind of like I'm lying to people. But I like really don't like to lie. Like I can't lie like consciously. I can't, I can keep like, important secrets, but like I can't lie to people. And so it really like I felt bad about it. And the doctor was like, got it. Okay, that's good. Like writing that down. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, just you'll find out. Don't worry about it. But I like remember saying, I don't know who I am because I'm a different person with all these different people. And then when all those people come together,
Oh my God.
I'm so nervous. Like if like at birthday parties as a kid or in college or as a teenager or whatever, before my diagnosis, I would be nervous to have people from different parts of my life together, seeing me in different ways because I was a different person with everyone. And I felt like that was wrong, but I wasn't really doing it consciously. And now I know that's masking, but I remember saying that in my appointment.
My experience has been so different with that because I think for me, my way of coping and adapting, and especially having and maintaining friendships throughout my life, is I just didn't exist. And like this especially plays into why I became a therapist, but I was just a vessel for everyone else. Everyone else would talk, everyone else would share. People rarely knew my internal experiences, rarely knew what I was actually feeling and expressing, because I just listened to everyone else. So I didn't have that problem of like, oh, what if all these people end up being together at the same place, because they all kind of knew a similar version of me, but actually no one actually knew me. And I think that changed a lot when I got into my relationship with my spouse now, that like that was the first time that I could be myself and could be the happy and the terrible parts of myself, like in a space where I felt held and cared for and loved. Because every other experience, whether it was friendship or ex-partners or different things, like I had this feedback loop that like I would try and be myself in some way. It was either critiqued or not received well, and then I just kind of hid myself more. So I think for me, that was my way of like masking and adapting, is like I don't have to be a certain person if I just ask everyone else, how are you? What's going on with you? Like, how can I help that person, rather than ever sharing anything about me?
I feel like I'm somewhere in between that. So when I mask, or like in learning to mask, and I think Amanda, you made a great point of that we're taught these things, and we may be taught explicitly or the opposite of explicitly, and we learn to like pick up on things. So like when I was my like loud, goofy, weird self, I maybe got made fun of, didn't really have those friends. But when I was quiet and I was reserved, or I like laughed at everyone's jokes and I was the good girl, like that's what I got praised for. And that's what like allowed me to be around other people. So I think that personality trait like came up. And then I just took a really big interest in like understanding other people.
It brings to mind some story to me. Like, I don't know, like when I explain things and talk about things, especially in my professional life, like I use a lot of imagery, and it kind of brings to like mind this idea of like having an array of desserts, and you kind of display them all and you learn over time, well, people really prefer chocolate. So I'm going to keep bringing a chocolate dessert. And again, it's not this thing of, you necessarily, at least for me, haven't had this idea of like, well, people hate vanilla or people hate strawberry, but it's just this feedback loop of like, people keep picking chocolate. So I'm going to keep providing chocolate flavored desserts. And I think that has been some of my experiences, like this kind of unconscious thing, but I'll also get into some of the conscious parts of like, I learned people like this. People like you said, people like me when I act this way or don't like me when I act this way. And I think that can be really hard, because then when you're trying to unmask, you're like, actually, maybe I don't like chocolate desserts. And I never really realized, because I was so busy providing for everyone else this really specific flavor that they really liked.
Yeah, what I really liked was being accepted, and it didn't really matter what I was doing in order to get that like love and acceptance.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's like a question to spark a conversation. I don't know if I know or don't know the answer, but is masking directly correlated with people pleasing? Like,
I feel like
yeah, because like you're masking to please other people. Does that automatically make you a people pleaser?
I do think we share the people pleasing, and I've written a whole thing about it, because a lot of us, especially I'm going to say us in like
Females.
female level 1 autistic, like we tend to fall into that like giver syndrome, and like that pleasing, that's like it's a survival tactic, right? Like that fawn, if you want to go into like fight, flight, freeze, and fawning is like that pleasing thing. I want to redefine it, because the other thing is like internally I'm a very strong person. And like if you told me, high school me, college me, that I was a people pleaser, I would have like wanted to spit in your face. Like,
Same.
no way. But I want to redefine it to a petal plucker,
What is that?
where we are a beautiful flower and we are willing to give away our petals to people because we care about them so much and we love people and we want the things that we want from other people, we want to give to other people. And I think that is a better way to define it for me, of like, and maybe make people less defensive of like, I'm not a people pleaser. I have my own mind. Like that would have been me. Like I have my own mind. I can think for myself and I always can. But I also am very aware of how other people feel. I never want people to feel the ways that I had felt. And so I'm willing to sacrifice myself to not have somebody else go through that.
See, I appreciate kind of that imagery you gave, but then I think it also made me sad because I was like, wow, I plucked every bit of my flower, like
Oh yeah.
the stem, like the inner pieces of it, like, and I think this is where like discovering my own neurodiversity and really trying to learn to unmask, trying to learn to behave differently, learning to accommodate myself has really been life changing for me because I think I was that person that, again, I don't know if I would necessarily describe it as a people pleaser, but I think I would describe it definitely in that way of like, I was just giving everything to everyone else. Like, it didn't matter what my needs were, it didn't matter what my wants were. The ways that I learned that I kept friendships and kept people in my life was to give everything else to everyone else. And I think that's where it can be a powerful and difficult journey to go through this process because especially for someone who was assigned female at birth, like this might have been the ways that they navigated the world and might have been the ways that they're trying to learn how to figure out a different way of being.
I remember having a conscious or like making a conscious decision. I was like, I am going to be what I think a person should be, like how I think a friend should act, how I think whatever. And it doesn't matter if I'm getting that back in return. Like I remember consciously like deciding that like, oh, it doesn't matter what's going on to another person, like that's how I'm going to act. And I think that led me to giving a lot to people who didn't give back. And not that like you need a like reciprocal relationship 100% of the time, but you cross your boundaries for a lot of other people that would never be willing to like walk on the same side of the street as you.
And I think that's hard when you're eventually unmasking and now you might be trying to have people help you in different ways, but it's a very different life when you've gone from maybe in some ways masking and or accommodating other people and then now having a life where you're like, well, actually, I don't want to be in this place because it's too loud, or I don't want to be here because of the lighting, or I don't want to experience this certain experience because of XYZ. And at least for me, I don't know about you guys, like that's been so uncomfortable to like now have a process where I've gone from giving these flower petals to other people and I'm like, please, can I have some soil? Please, can I regrow in some way? And there's definitely been people that maybe have kind of occurred in my life that they don't have any desire to give me any of that soil or give me any of that space to like regrow in a different way.
Similarly, I remember after my diagnosis, I like broke down crying one day and my husband Tyler was like, what, like why are you like what up? What's going on here? And I was like scared. I don't like it just kind of happened or maybe
Yeah.
it was sparked by something, but I said like I don't want you to like change your mind about being with me because I might change. Like I've learned this about myself. I might lean in. I'm going to probably lean into it. Like, I didn't know what to expect. I mean, when I called certain people and I said I just got my autism diagnosis, they were like, yes, and like, they were like, yeah, we know, like, move on with your life. So, not in a mean way, but just like
Yeah.
we see it, but I was going to change. I didn't know I was going to change. And so I was nervous that I was like starting to like accommodate myself and let myself unmask. And I was nervous that it was going to push, in this instance, my partner away, in addition to my friends. But I was the most nervous about my partner, who I like live with and love very much. And I mean, he said like, I love you, and like, doesn't matter how you change. I love you then. I love you now. Like, you know, I'm gonna like, I know who you are, and be fine. And I remember just being like, I don't believe you. Like, you have no idea what's about to happen.
Yeah, no, like I mean, and in that moment, I don't think he was lying, but also
No, not
you
at
don't
all.
know,
Yeah.
right? Like you don't
Yeah.
because you just don't.
I think it's also hard too for us to know what that's going to look like. Like, I think if
Exactly.
you had asked me a couple months ago, like, is this going to change anything? Is anything going to happen? I don't know if I would have really identified yes. And I think some of that too, that will define and explore is skill regression. Maybe one of you can kind of provide a definition, then I can explain like what my experience was, and we can all kind of talk about what skill regression kind of looked like either post diagnosis or post like self discovery.
Yeah. So I think skill regression is kind of a phenomenon of when you do discover that you are neurodivergent of self and you begin to unmask, you lose some of the skills that you had before. Understanding the nervous system has been an integral part of understanding autism for me and neurodivergency in general. And I don't know how to explain it without it. But when you're masking, you are in survival mode. So your body is producing all of the hormones that come along with survival mode. When you start to understand yourself and start to unmask, I think your nervous system starts to feel a little safer and it starts to like let go a little bit. And so lots of those things that were easier for you are all of a sudden really difficult. And I don't know about you guys, but I felt like, am I faking this? I'm
Yeah.
like, all of
Yeah.
a sudden, I'm way more friggin' autistic than I ever was.
Yeah,
And
I
like,
definitely had that.
my executive functioning is way worse than it ever was. Like, am I doing this on purpose? Like,
I could just start naming examples of skills that have regressed since becoming aware of my autism. But one that comes to mind is multitasking. Like,
yeah.
I prided myself for my whole life on being this like crazy good multitasker. I could do everything in a short amount of time, all at the same time, and I do it well. I never made any mistakes, no typos, nothing slipped through the cracks. Everything was organized. It was like part of my identity, and it still kind of is because I am at the core of me like an organized person who wants to get everything done. But since my diagnosis, it's like I forget things and I misplace documents and I don't send an email, or like I can't listen to someone tell a story or tell me something while doing something else that also requires brain function. And I used to be able to do that. But the difference is that I learned that that is partly why I get migraines is the overstimulation of like too much happening. And I always think of my brain as like going like this, like gears, like going and then like steam coming out. Like that's how my brain works when I feel like I'm going too fast. And that's part of what causes migraines. And I think that now I've allowed myself to like not do that.
Yeah, your body's like, we're not going back to that.
Yeah. And I notice it more.
Mhm.
And so I don't do it, but then I'm different and I'm like, oh my God, people are going to notice, or they're going to like not trust me as much, or like at work, my boss isn't going to see me as competent as I was before. And they're going to be like, what happened? So I have a lot of that. I don't know if it's like imposter syndrome. I don't think that that's what it is, but I have this like, what's happening to me? Like, like, but I know what it is. I don't like it. But I also do like it because I don't get migraines.
I think some of it is also like going through burnout.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of what I think you're saying, I'm hearing burnout.
That I still don't know the difference. I am still learning the difference. Like I told you guys last week, I went into therapy and I was like, I'm really tired. I can't keep my eyes open. Why? And my therapist was like, you're like this close to burnout. And I'm like, what? I didn't
I
know
think
that.
we're probably all actively living in burnout.
Right.
I like our burnout is not going to resolve easily,
Yeah.
which this is definitely its own topic. But I do think skill regression is partially due to being in burnout because you don't reach this state, right, until or likely you haven't reached this state of like seeking a reason, seeking a diagnosis, seeking what's going on with you unless your skills have or your demands have outweighed your skills in some sense. And so you are probably already in some type of burnout.
Right.
Yeah. See, that's why it's like so hard for me to like pull apart what's burnout, what's skill regression. And I'll give like, I guess, a quick definition of burnout. But I think the best way I can explain it is like neurotypical people with a job may reach burnout where they're just like exhausted and overwhelmed and just too much is going on and they're not functioning as well. They might have mood changes, all those kind of things. A similar but different thing kind of happens for neurodivergent people that while neurotypical people maybe can take like a vacation for a week and feel recovered and feel like they can function again. Ours is a bit more, at least in my understanding, chronic and long term. And it also can be paired with that, again, skill regression, where like a neurotypical person, like they're a little exhausted by work and they have a vacation and they feel refreshed and they feel better, or they change jobs and they feel better. For us, it might be a little bit more overarching in our life. When I pursued my diagnosis, I was in extreme burnout and I got a diagnosis. I quit my job related to the burnout and related to my functioning and getting diagnosed and all these different things. And it was really, 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 really hard initially because I kept beating myself up and I kept being like, what the is wrong with me? Like, why am I struggling so much? And it was basic things. Like, it would literally be basic things of trying to make myself a meal, trying to clean dishes, trying to do these things that in my head shouldn't have been so complicated. And I was really struggling. And it would also be things that I would tell myself, I've been sitting around all day. I should feel better. I haven't done anything in days. I don't have a job. I should feel better. Like it was just a constant narrative of I should feel better. This should be easier. There was just so much shame that I'm like, I'm in my 30s and I'm unemployed and I'm crying because I can't do the dishes. Like I had so much shame and embarrassment about that of like, why can't I get it together? So those are the things that I noticed for myself that was just incredibly hard with like burnout / skill regression.
I think let's sit with that for a second because I think what you're sharing is something that a lot of people go through in one way or another. I think shame holds us back from healing a lot. Like my first job I knew was not good for me. And so I got a new job and it was better for my neurotype, but it still wasn't good enough. So then I was like, I am physically sick too. I got myself to the point, I'm not blaming myself. I also have chronic migraine and I was really sick and I knew that like I couldn't keep this up for much longer. So I started working like for myself kind of, and the executive functioning went out the window. I was getting so sick too physically. Like I like caught COVID and then I was just like would have a flare up and would have bad migraines. So like I wasn't working and I would have like days and days and I would be in bed and I'd be like, but I'm not doing anything. Why do I still feel this way? Like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, right? Like to take care of myself. And I think it's just we have to take care of ourselves in a different way than we've been taught to.
I get what you're saying and I appreciate it of like it is really important to try and work on that shame and work through that, but it's so hard when like I wouldn't tell people that. Like I wouldn't tell people like, "Hey, I'm unemployed and crying every day about how I can't do basic life tasks." And like that's why I think too, like as we talked about in our first episode, like it is lovely and important if you're able to connect with community, whether it's like your loved ones that you feel like you can really quote unquote unmask around and really be yourself around, or friends, or it might be online places where you can do that, or it can be just listening to communities like this. But I think it is so important to hear other people's stories and other people's lived experiences. That's not the neurotypical experience, because I think it's so important to kind of learn to operate, because my life is very different now that I do know how to take care of myself, and I hope to prevent future burnouts and be able to like accommodate my different challenges and work on my different needs. But that is just, again, like a very hard and exhausting and sometimes lonely journey to kind of go through.
So we've talked a lot about, I think, masking in terms of relationships and friendships. Before our podcast, I was looking at the camouflaging. There's a test. It's called the CAT-Q. Amanda, do you know the name offhand that I'm
Just,
blanking?
yeah, camouflaging autistic traits questionnaire. And
Yeah,
I'll do
yeah.
the description here. So it's a self-report measure of social camouflaging behaviors in adults. It may be used to identify autistic individuals who do not currently meet diagnostic criteria due to their ability to mask their autistic proclivities. So this is exactly what we're talking about with masking, of like in some way appearing differently, again, conscious or unconscious. Camouflaging is just another way of defining that and describing that behavior.
I was kind of going through the questions just to like give us some talking points a little bit. What are your like experiences around body language and facial expressions? So, are you overly aware of others, observing others, monitoring yourself? That's kind
Can I tell a bad story?
of course.
So this is a good example of like, I don't monitor my facial expressions that much. I monitor other people's, but I think that's also another thing for masking. I've literally been trained how to look at these people and how to understand emotions and how to understand feelings. And we could get into a whole thing about where I originally learned that beyond just being being in grad school and being a therapist. But anyway, like I don't typically camouflage my expressions, but they are received poorly. I was in high school and I was donating blood. This is like important to the story. I'm doing a very nice task. I'm doing something very nice to people. And I had a moment and I look back now and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I had autism and like that's why I'm perceived this way. But I was donating blood. I wasn't having anything unpleasant, but I tend to have a quote unquote resting face. And the nurse that was taking my blood said that I looked evil and said that there was like something about me that was evil. And that is such a memory in my mind that like here I am doing something very nice and very helpful, and that is how my facial expression is received. That like I might have certain feelings, and then at certain points, like if they're really big, maybe I'll express them a lot. But I'm someone who tends to have a very neutral face, so I don't mask that, and maybe should. But that's my terrible story about that.
No, you should not. Sydney, I think you are very similar to me in, or Amanda, you might be as well. I think because you did say that you observe other people's faces. I think I overly observe other people's faces, and I'm wondering like how you feel about handling someone like Amanda who doesn't necessarily show a lot of things on their face.
It's so difficult because I feel like I'm not making that person happy, even though that's something that I've been working on, especially in the professional setting. Like I I've always kind of just like been a goofball at work. I luckily work at a place that I can be a goofball, but obviously it's work and there are limits. But I have really nice relationships with my coworkers. Some of my coworkers, and like we joke a lot, but there are people I work with who, you know, don't find me funny or don't look like they find me funny, and I like kind of take it personally.
Yeah. No, I feel like I have to consciously remind myself that of other people because like I want to respect other people's like expression or lack of expression
Yeah.
and remind myself that like this is just who they are. This is okay. Like this has nothing to do with me. Um I I feel like I work with children who are often neurodiverse and their parents are a lot of times either knowingly or not neurodiverse, and like I have to remind myself that when I'm like trying to educate them on things and I'm like, oh my God, they hate me. And then they'll be like, oh, that was so great, I love it. Like I'm like, oh, but your face doesn't say that, right? So I think part of our masking is we learn to like pick up on very small cues in people's facial expressions. I like to remind myself, or I've been reminding myself that when this is the case anyway, they're an adult and they have to tell me if they're upset with me. I don't have to figure it out because there's so many times where I'm like, but they seem upset. And I'm like, it's their responsibility. If they have a problem, they have to tell me because I cannot and should not be trying to figure it out from your face.
It's funny you say
And
that because that was my one of my New Year's resolutions with my husband was
nice.
I was like, because pretty much every day I'm always just like, "Are you mad at me?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"No, like, what are you sure?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm not." So one of my New Year's resolutions was like, I am going to assume I'm going to like default to he's not mad at me, everything's fine. And if he is mad at me, I trust him to tell me and to be honest with me. We're 5 months in. It's not going great, but I'm still trying.
Maybe I'll try that because I think I also struggle with that. I also though like have a spouse that's pretty unexpressive. Like
Yeah, can confirm.
yeah, he's just very neutral. I love him. He's great. And he has a lot of emotion and has a lot of, well, not a lot of emotion, but he has a lot of love and has like some things
He's
and
not
everything. And he cares
expressive.
about.
He has emotion. He's
He's
not
not-
expressive.
Right, right. Like he's just not expressive, but it's very, it's hard for me because I think like with my own lived background as well as the autism, it just like activates me. And sometimes like pretty common discussion throughout the week is me being like, are you mad at me? Are you upset with me? But especially like when he's sleepy, that's the only time his expression changes. And I always naturally interpret it of a bad thing happens. So I'm always like, are you mad at me? Are you upset with me? What happened? And he's like, I'm literally just tired. But that's my like weekly challenge with that. Going back to some of the stuff of like accommodating people, whether you want to call it people pleasing, pedal pulling, whatever you kind of said, Crystal. Like
Fucking get it right.
my bad, but it's that kind of thing of like I want to find out what's wrong so I can fix it. Like you were kind of saying, Sid, too, of like I think there's this like activation that happens sometimes for some of us folks of like I know that I sometimes do things that are not interpreted well. And then there's this like constant activation of like being on edge and being like, what did I do? What did I say? How did I move? What did my face look like? What happened to cause this negative reaction? Because we don't naturally have that proclivity to be able to understand like, oh, they're expressing this and I know why this happened.
I think especially for us in this situation with our partners, like our partners are our main people. They are our co-regulators. They are who we seek when we are dysregulated. So if something seems off with them, it's going to feel off with us too. So in talking about masking our body language and with relationships, I want to talk a little bit more about skill regression. How do you guys feel eye contact skill has gone for you guys?
When I first got diagnosed, I guess it was I was like going through some of the process and like thinking about it and like really pursuing it. Oh my God, my eye contact, I struggled so much. I was like in therapy sessions with clients and I was like, where do I look? Am I looking at them in the eye? Am I not looking at them in the eye? And then it was also like, I'm thinking more about my eye contact than the content of what they're saying or my therapeutic interventions. It was really hard. Like, I'm kind of glad that I didn't get diagnosed till like at the end of where I was because it was just a constant thing at that point that I was like, Amanda, stop thinking about eye contact. Think about therapy. Think about what they're saying. Think about what you're going to say. It was terrible. I was like, this is the worst I have ever been able to do therapy because it was like, I was just constantly wondering, I'm like, do I look people in the eye? Do I not look people in the eye? I never thought about the fact that I don't know how to do eye contact because I'm so used to just like living my life and not thinking about it. And that's definitely the skill that I still struggle with because I'm like, I don't remember what I used to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes I'm like, "Ugh, I'm so masked," and then I realize I've been having a conversation not looking at the person, and I'm like, oh wait, look at them. And I wonder, yeah, I don't know too. I'm like, did I not look at people that often before? Do I just think about it more now? Does it feel uncomfortable? I don't know.
I haven't had that much of a difference with my eye contact. It hasn't changed. I just noticed it a little bit, or my lack of eye contact a little bit more, but I feel like my eye contact skill hasn't like completely regressed. The thing that's become harder for me, I guess in the same category, is Zoom calls. Like I work remotely 3 out of 5 days of the week. And all my meetings are usually on Zoom, even though I go into the office sometimes because no one else really goes in. With Zoom calls, I struggle with my facial expressions a lot. Like, I want to seem interested, but I also am like, it's kind of frowned upon if you're like not multitasking while you're on Zoom calls, but like not too much to the point where you can't focus on the Zoom call.
Oh
I don't know if
boy.
you guys like also have this experience, but like as someone who works pretty much only remotely and on Zoom, that's how my life is and how it's been for the last 6 years.
That sounds like hell.
It's so bad. And there was like a movement of a time where people were like, put your camera on so that we can like have a community and see each other. And usually when I turn my camera off on Zoom calls, it's not because I'm not listening. It's because I listen better when I put my head down and close my eyes. Like that's how I pay better attention rather than like focusing on exactly how I look and looking directly at the camera. And I can't do that. I also like I on Zoom I look at your faces. I don't look at the camera. Like I'm not
Yeah.
talking to a dot. I'm talking to you. But one of the things that my company does is we record people remotely on video, and we tell people like look into the camera. And there's a lot of people who pretty much everyone is not good at that. Like, and I don't blame them. I don't think that anyone of any kind of neurotype is probably very good at like talking to a green dot.
We had this conversation actually. We did a little test run
Mm-hmm.
and Amanda and I were not looking anywhere near the camera. And I knew this was going to be an issue, or like not really an issue, but like because Sydney is media trained and my partner is media trained, it's something that like I have it's like I've heard him tell his broadcasters before about like looking at the camera, and like the neurodiverse person in me was like, but they don't want to. They're autistic. Don't let them. He's like, but it's uncomfortable for the audience. And like, whatever, that's a sports field. We're not changing that one yet. So it's something we talked about. Like, how do we feel about eye contact in this? And I felt very strongly that like if we were really trying to have good eye contact, we would be masking. And like we are trying to build a community that's safe for us. So like not that we're gonna like purposefully not have eye contact, but we're just gonna do what's comfortable for us.
With the unmasking or the skill regression, kind of some of the things is like learning what's natural for you and trying to learn to live life like that. I think kind of going back to some of the skill regression stuff, I wonder too for you guys, at least for myself, it definitely happened. Like, did you have any skill regression with sound? Because I know for me, that was like the biggest one that I had a huge issue with. And I kept going back to what Crystal said earlier of like, I felt like I was faking it because I was like, I didn't have this many issues with sound. I wasn't this overwhelmed with sound. And now I feel like I really struggle and I'm like learning to accommodating it with like earplugs and different things. But like, that was never a thing for me prior to kind of this self-discovery. And it felt very weird and almost fakey that I was like, oh my God, I'm really overwhelmed. And oh my God, like I can't be in this loud place anymore.
Yeah, for me, it was sound and light, like light more so than sound, but sound for sure. And like I got earplugs and I was like, I don't need these. I'll be fine. And I have a friend who puts on a lot of concerts and I go and it's like loud music. It's like he usually plays acoustic, but the other bands that play, like the vibe is very like punk rock and some of them are metal. I can't do it anymore. Like I go and see his set and then I leave. I used to stay the whole time. And even with my earplugs now, I'm like, he does his acoustic set. Yes, it's loud, but it's acoustic and I know what to expect. And, you know, he's my friend and I'm going to support him, but then I'm going to leave.
I've never thought about those as skill regression, but I definitely have gotten more sensitive to sound and light, but I've never labeled it as a skill regression.
Yeah, this conversation has made me redefine skill regression, because when I thought of skill regression an hour ago, I thought it was like, oh, I'm bad, like driving. I'm not a bad driver. I'm a totally safe driver, but it's harder for me.
That's
Like a
kind of what,
skill.
yeah. So, you
Or
know what
cooking.
a really recent one? Putting lipstick on.
Interesting.
I mean,
I haven't done it in quite some time, and I feel like a toddler. Like, I'm like, I used to be able to do it no problem. And now all of a sudden, like, so there's a thing called a splinter skill, where if you may have like, sometimes like autism diagnosis may come with like some fine motor challenges or gross motor challenges, like movement challenges, right? But you might be really good at one thing because you've practiced it over and over and over again. And that's a splinter skill. So I'm like, have I just not been doing like, I didn't really actually have the like good motor plan to put lipstick on, but like it became a splinter skill because I was doing it more often. Not that I ever really wore lipstick that much, but that's one recently that I'm like, oh my God. And I usually will, if I wear lipstick, it's like a bright red, and then I look like a 4-year-old, and it stains my skin because my skin is so white. Like,
I'd like a demonstration, please. Right now.
I can go grab some.
Oh, wait, really? No, it's okay. You don't.
Wait, I will.
I was kidding. Okay.
everyone demonstrate the skill they struggle the most with. Go, Crystal, go.
But I did put lip gloss on before we came on, so maybe it's a little better. Yeah, that wasn't
You did great.
It's great.
Crystal, I think
terrible.
Crystal, that was great.
I have a lot of like oral motor issues too. Like I spill water. I can't drink out of a cup. That's a skill regression. I always use a straw because most of the time I will pour it on myself.
Similarly, last week, I not only in the same 2-3 hours in different places dropped my glass container of food at my office. It was in a bag, so glass didn't get anywhere, in like a tote bag. But I spilled half a mug of hot soup all over myself and our sofa. That was another thing. Like, yes, I'm always organized. I'm known as an organized person. I'm careful. Like, people trust me to like carry hot food from the kitchen to the I'm nervous to use the oven. Anything hot. I also only drink out of my water bottle with a straw. If I have a cup, it needs to have a top, even if I have to unscrew it every single time, because I simply don't trust myself to not spill it. But yeah, my ability to keep liquid inside of drinking vessels it doesn't happen. I'm not good at it anymore. Like, I'm okay, but I have had to take precautions because I simply don't trust myself anymore.
It makes sense that was something you struggled with. Can I nerd out for a minute about my special interest with just like psychology and like the brain and all that? So,
yes, please.
With autistic people, we tend to be more clumsy. And with that, like the area of the brain with balance called the cerebellum is where they tend to have some stuff related to autism. And that's why like autistic people tend to be a bit more clumsy. So
I didn't know that.
It's also now they've been showing it to be related to like emotional regulation too. So it's a really interesting tie of like when we're uncoordinated and then our reactions are so big. So our second sunflower spotlight is going to be Patrick Casal. He gives a nice little description of himself on his Instagram, which I guess is how he would like to be described. So I'm just going to use his own. He's a mental health therapist, an ADHD TEDx speaker, a group practice owner, community creator, retreat organizer, 2 times podcast host. He hosts one of my all-time favorite podcasts is Divergent Conversations with Dr. Megan Neff. And I don't know how I found the two of them, their podcast, but it definitely got me through a hard year. Autism is one of my special interests, so just listening to them talk, and they have very similar, I don't know, journeys as me, or not even really similar journeys, but ones that I can relate to. So I think they're a really great part of our community. The reason I wanted to share him today specifically was because he had a really nice post about what we're talking about today. So I really liked this post and its explanation of skill regression and autism. So his post says sometimes an autism discovery feels like it gets worse before it gets better. Shutdowns happen more often. Masking, which was once on automatic, starts to feel impossible and it feels like something has gone wrong. Oh, Matt, he calls it autistic mask fatigue. Post discovery autistic mask fatigue. There was one specifically that I was like, oh, yeah, here. You might feel more autistic than before. People might not understand, but nothing was created, only revealed. You're not getting worse. You're not decompressing. You're finally breathing. Give yourself time. The exhale is going to take a while. And I remember specifically Sydney texting me like, I don't know what's going on, but and I don't know if this is the right word, but I feel more autistic.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is literally me. Like I'm still unlearning it. I mean, that was probably like 6+ months ago, at maybe a year. And like I still am like, I feel really autistic today. And then I have to remind myself that's not a thing and that's not how it works. And I have to use different words like I'm dysregulated or I'm overstimulated or like I need to recharge or whatever. So yeah, I relate.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I remember that text. And I was like, she's like, I don't know what to call it. And I was like, probably dysregulated.
Yeah.
But then in you saying that to us, to me, like I've used that, like, oh yeah, I'm feeling more autistic today.
I use it sometimes with my partner just because like we're both learning. And I try and give us a lot of grace. But I sometimes am like, I'm feeling really autistic today. And we just both know what that means. Mm-hmm. But I can understand that that's like not really, it's a little harmful. And so while we're working on finding better words for it, I do sometimes say that.
I think it depends on what's going on. Like something like I've been feeling this as well, of like sometimes just feeling more autistic, but something me and my partner have been talking about and exploring, depending on the way my situation's presenting for me, it's been sometimes just ranking my rigidity of like, sometimes I'm at like an 8, 9, or 10. Like I'm extremely rigid. I need to say, I need the red item right now, and it doesn't matter that you're saying that there's an alternative that's purple. I need the red item right now. And like that's been my way of kind of navigating it, of like I'm just really rigid sometimes, and a lot of that comes from I've had a lot of days out or I've had a lot of sensory overwhelm, and then the kind of repercussion of that is like I might have a day where I'm extremely rigid. So that's some of the ways that I've been navigating that. But as well, I think a lot of it too can look like feeling more sensory adverse, having more challenges in different ways.
I have also, probably for the first time, used it in a positive way of like when we were going to our cows, my coworkers, I mean, not my coworker, my best friend's coworker was going to be coming, and she was like, I wonder how it's going to be, whatever. And I was like, well, I want to be the most autistic. Like, I want to be in autistic joy. Like, I want to be in the flow. So, like, I hope everything's good. And it was. But, yeah, so for the first time, like, used it in a positive way.
I think
even
that's
today.
Beautiful.
Today, I was, like, living my best autistic self. Like, I did nothing but... I mean, I did do a big girl thing that didn't work well. I went to the MVC, as New Jersey calls it, or the DMV, as most other states call it, and couldn't get my done because apparently I have the title to my car, but I didn't know that, and I don't have it. So now I have to request it from somebody. But anyway, so I did do that. But then I went and I got a Dutch oven to make the sourdough that I made, and I talked to my friend Kim about occupational therapy for a while, and then I just listened to autistic podcasts and watched autistic TED Talks, and now I'm talking autism to you guys. Like, it's so fun. And ADHD, I'm trying to remember to add that in as the only one with it. But yeah, so I was like sitting and I was like, oh, what a great autism day. Like, I really honored my like special interest.
I think that's kind of like a good ending point for us of like the beginning and throughout this journey. Like, there may be times and ways that you feel more autistic, but it might not always be a negative connotation. And sometimes it might. And I think that's part of this journey of self-exploration, is figuring out like, what do these terms mean to you? Like, how are the ways that you're going to try to better take care of yourself or try to better adjust your life? And sometimes that's a really messy journey. And hopefully that's something that our folks can continue to navigate with us.
So go out there and be more autistic.
My friends and I like to say like little autistic bean. Like, you're just being a little autistic bean.
I like that.
I love you. But so a couple books that I think Sydney and I have both read that would just recommend would be Unmasking Autism, The Power of Embracing Our Hidden Neurodiversity, and Unmasking for Life, The Autistic Person's Guide to Connecting, Loving, and Living Authentically by Devon Price. A Little Less Broken, How an Autism Diagnosis Finally Made Me Whole by Marian Shimbari.
I love that book.
I read that at Amanda's wedding. Well, not at Amanda's wedding, but waiting for Amanda's
Definitely
wedding.
at Amanda's wedding during the ceremony.
Yeah, during the whole
saw
thing,
you.
I sat there and read it.
Don't lie.
So the quote I'd like to end us on today is from Devon Price, Unmasking Autism. It's, refusing to perform neurotypically is a revolutionary act of disability justice. It's also a radical act of self-love. And I think that's a really fun way when things get hard and it's hard to unmask and it's uncomfortable. Like, remember that you're being a little rebel. And I think that motivates me a little bit more. And
Yeah.
you're showing yourself some self-love.
I remember reading that in the book, and I highlighted the book, like I marked it up because I was doing like research for myself. And I remember reading that and like reading it 6 times and reading it out loud and being like, this is such a good way to put it. So I think that's a great quote.
Yeah. Take care of that little autistic being inside you.
Yeah.
And that has been the second episode of Discovering Divergency. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Amanda and Sydney, for being so open and honest and helping to build this community. It really means the world to me.
You too, Crystal.
You too, Crystal.
And for our listeners, please become part of this community. We want to hear your stories too. Comment. Let us know what you want to see. Let us know what your journey has been with masking, unmasking. What skills have regressed for you? Can you drink out of a cup?
Can you do lipstick?
Can you do lipstick? We want to know.
We want to know it all.
And if you have anyone that would be wonderful for our Sunflower Spotlight, feel free to send that along. We're always trying to look for new people that we hope that we can share with our community.
Okay, love you, bye.
Love you, bye.